because I do want to get into Friday night footy when it came to the Broncos and Eels. Adam Reynolds, 5 from 5.
Yes.
They weren't convincing at all against Parramatta, were they? I mean, down 16.
The Broncos?
No.
Well, they're coming off that bye, down 16. It was a horrible start. You can't sort of sugarcoat that any which way. It was 16-0 after about 14 minutes. And they go into the halftime break. They did a great job, Brisbane, to get back into the game. Went into the halftime break at 16 points to 12 before a second half. Well, Parramatta Eels really dropped off. You know, their error rate and missed tackles really sort of dropped off in the second half. But Brisbane went after the contest, and the longer the game went, the better the Broncos played. And some of the performances, I mean, Tristan Saylor, he's had his moments this season. He really has. Last season was terrific at different stages, but he stood up when they needed. Particularly in the second half, when after the game he was instrumental in their comeback. But I got to make mention, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. But I've got to make mention. We've banged on about obviously no Payne Haas and the huge hole that he leaves in that Broncos forward pack, particularly with their ability to get forward. Pat Carrigan, I can't speak highly enough. He has done a terrific job all season, has been their best player, most consistent player all season. Corey Jensen is a player that just doesn't get the raps he deserves. He is just one of those players with, how do I put this respectfully, like an average name in a star-studded lineup. Now, some numbers over the weekend. Carrigan had 17 runs, 156 run metres, 46 tackles, which is just a box tick once again for Paddy. Corey Jensen, 16 runs, 140 run metres, 50 tackles. Like the 1-2 punch of Jensen and also Carrigan is what lays that foundation. And then it gives the ability to Tristan Saylor, to Katoni Staggs, who had a great game, Cobbo, who sort of warmed into the contest. And off the back of that, they were able to find a victory. Now, there was a couple of moments late in that game, particularly the kick out on the full from Adam Reynolds, which didn't prove costly, but it could have been. And Renault made some comments after the game. He had some good things, and he really did, and he had some ordinary things that he wasn't happy about, and he did there too. But the most important thing for Brisbane is they won the contest. Up against the Parramatta Eels, they won the contest. They are still with a faint hope. And now that hope is certainly somewhat reality, so much so that Kevy is... he said it's not an if, it's when we play finals.
All right, well, let's hear that again from the Broncos coach.
Do you think, Kev, I mean, if you make the finals, do you think you can mount...
There's no if. No if here. We're going to make the finals.
He's confident because of your grimacing. It's a big statement, isn't it? Because, if they miss,
look, I
it's egg-on-face stuff.
I know Kevy. I know him well, and he's all about positive affirmation, as we all are. You like to think all that way, but and if you cast your mind back to when he was coaching the Queensland side, he wouldn't even reference New South Wales as New South Wales. It was the other team.
It's the coach whisperer all over, isn't it?
Well, there you go. I love what he's saying, but what if it doesn't come to fruition? Like
my question
to you, can create a lot more pressure. And there already is pressure.
Okay, that's what I want to ask. Yeah,
there already is pressure, right? I mean, there's no two ways about it. Not if we play, when we play. Do we all hope Brisbane play? Absolutely. But let's just continue to go 1 week at a time. And it was a step in the right direction. And we're going to take on the Dolphins. It's going to be an unbelievable contest this week. Wayne Bennett, Kevin Walters, Dolphins. One team is gone. Yeah. They are officially out. There's already been the narrative spoken out of Melbourne. A lot of players will be rested going north. So it'll be a depleted Melbourne side playing the Cowboys this week, which then shapes as a complete Melbourne side at Suncorp, round 27. Guess who they're taking on? The Brisbane Broncos.
Correct.
One of the worst records in history Brisbane have of playing the Melbourne Storm.
Well, let's not get that far.
There we go.
It comes
let's
down
not
to,
get that far.
It comes down to Saturday night.
Correct.
So the question this morning, outside of the goal kicking, are you on the Broncos bus? Are you on the Kevin Walters? Kevy's behind the wheel. He is driving. He's saying, jump on. We are playing finals. He's got the belief. Or is the pressure just a bit too suffocating, or have you jumped off that bus? 13 13 55 0467 736 736 at 19 minutes past 9 on a Monday morning after round 25. Corey Parker, are you on that Broncos bus? Do you have a ticket?
I have said all along I'm on the Bronco bus, but I'm also paid to give an opinion based on where I think teams are at. And I said last week, we dived deep into it. I thought that the teams that were in the 8 will stay in the 8. So I think now the Dragons are wobbly. However, they do have a lighter run home. But the upset from the Raiders over the Penrith Panthers at the nation's capital, who saw that coming? They take on the Roosters this week. So maybe potentially the Raiders line through them. The Broncos take on the Dolphins this week. One of those two is going to have the line put through them, which then leaves Newcastle and Brisbane and the Dragons. So it's going to be a fascinating 2 weeks. But I think the biggest game of the week or the round is going to be the Battle of Brisbane.
It's going to be the biggest.
No two ways about it.
It's going to be the biggest club game of the year. I mean, a sellout at Suncorp Stadium, 53,000. You don't get any bigger than that across the entire competition.
And surely the left hand talks to the right hand when it comes to this time of year. Like Riverfire is on in Brisbane Saturday night, and the Broncos are taking on the Dolphins Saturday afternoon.
So do you stroll out of Suncorp and down to the river? There will be fireworks regardless. Excuse me. 13 13 55 0467 736 736. All right. Lance has had two tips at this. He said Ivan Cleary was a handy kicker, and Jason Taylor.
Yeah, Jason Taylor's a good shout. Yeah, just come to my mind. Yeah,
the original JT.
Yes, the original JT. Just come to mind. Dan Carter from
actually, I wonder
the All Blacks or whatever club he played for, Crusaders. Dan Carter was amazing. I remember seeing Dan Carter kick from the sideline in a howling breeze. He started at about 30 metres left of the upright and it just come across. Unbelievable kick. If you've got a bit of time on your hands today, Google that on YouTube. But he was a terrific kicker, Dan Carter.
Nathan's dad, Ivan, is on the list. We've got Jason Taylor, the original JT, and Dan Carter.
I'm putting Dan Carter up.
Yeah, the best you've seen. Goal kickers, 13 13 55 0467 736 736. This is the Monday Means Test. All thanks to KFC, a $100 voucher to KFC. Yeah, you can smell it cooking already.
You had a chip stuck in your throat just then, so anyway.
Quick break, back with more. On the Alltel open line, 13 13 55. Alltel, your better business telco. Dave, good morning. Are you on the Broncos bus?
Oh, for sure I'm on the Broncos bus. Corey made a comment before about if one of the Broncos or the Dolphins lose their next game, they're out. Not necessarily. If St. George lose their next 2 games and everyone else wins 1 game each, they're all going to end up on 28 points. Depending on their for and against, one of them will still get in at 28 points.
And for and against at the moment, the only team in that 5-way race for 8 in the positive are the Broncos. They've got a for and against of +2. All right. So, Dave, are you backing the Dragons to lose against Parramatta?
Well, I'm hoping they lose from Parramatta, and I hope they lose against the Raiders as well.
Yeah.
But I'm on the Broncos bus, mate. If they make the 8, they're going to go a long way. I can see it now.
A long way. Wow.
So they're going to do damage in the finals.
They will.
No Walsh, no Haas, still doing damage.
They'll do damage.
Okay. So the Knights take on the Dolphins in round 27. The Broncos take on Melbourne in round 27.
Yeah.
The Dragons take on the Raiders in round 27. This week, the Broncos take on the Dolphins.
The
Knights take on the Titans. So the Knights have got a.
So it could come down to round 27. It could come down to those last.
I think it will, Ben. I think it will. Having a look at that, yeah.
If you. I don't know if you had your eyes. Actually, you weren't because you were in the Fox studios. But the AFL finish was it came down to the final quarter of the season. to work out the top 8 in the AFL. So that could happen in the NRL as well. Dave, thank you. 13 13 55 0467 736 736. Dave's the clubhouse leader at the moment for the $100 KFC voucher.
Into that too, Dave.
Look, everyone wins with KFC, Cozzy. You can order today. Have you got the app?
Yes.
Yeah, good, because you've got 34 minutes until it opens. Score big with KFC, the Colonel's famous chicken, chips, irresistible burgers, and your favourite?
Spicy wings, yeah. Wicked wings.
Yeah. Potato and gravy as well. What about Jason from Ipswich? He jumped in, he just said Ross Conlon with the leather ball.
Oh, boy.
Ross Conlon.
My dad showed me how to kick only once in my life, back when I was a kid, and it was the old leather ball, and he toe poked it, and he broke his toe, and that was it. First and last time Dad showed me how to kick a football. So there you go.
Shout out to Mr. Parker. A shout out to Corey Horsburgh as well, because
Big sauce head.
He came back, I guess, a late call-up to play against Penrith in the front row, third game of the season. We know it's been a rough year for Corey with injury and whatever's happening down in Canberra between himself and Ricky Stewart. Toured the Broncos facility during the week, Corey. Could the other Corey, could he be a valuable addition to the Broncos, and can you see it happening?
He could be another Corey added to the Broncos lineup. Corey Jensen, Corey Oates, Corey Parker, and there's another one.
What's the story, Corey?
There you go. Oh, well, look, to be fair, he hasn't had his finest year, has he? No. There's been some talk coming out of Canberra that hasn't been where he needs to be off the field in regards to his preparation, etc. He got an opportunity on the weekend. He did a decent job against the Penrith Panthers. They won the game, so you'd think he'll back that up and play again this week. But I think he's been sort of tapped on the shoulder and let known that if he wants to find another club, he can. Now, he's obviously been approached by the Broncos. They've shown some interest. I think he'd be a great signing in the sense that he's a fiery redhead. I think every team needs a good red.
Yeah.
He brings a point of difference when he's at his best. He played Origin last year. When he's at his best, he brings a point of difference. He's got that aggressive streak in him as well.
And that's the one thing the Broncos are missing.
Correct.
They're missing sting.
Tommy Flegler hasn't been there, and they've
sting.
missed that little area. Yeah. But he's also got a real bit of skill about his game. I also understand that the Dragons are also pretty keen and are also the West Tigers. So it'll be a bit of a juggling act to see who can offer him what, I would assume. I know that he loves Brisbane. He's from up here. So...
former Caboolture Snake.
There you go.
And talented athlete. He played under 20s with Paddy Carrigan, so he's in that cohort.
Yeah.
I remember speaking to his dad, Rick, last year before
he's a wild bit of gear, old Rick.
Isn't he just? We'll touch base with him after 10 o'clock today too, because I spoke to Rick last year when Corey was making his Origin debut. So that's the other thing. He's got an Origin resume, and he told us the story of a 16-year-old. He was playing in an AFL grand final and an NRL grand final, or rugby league grand final for Redcliffe on the same day, and did both and won both as well. So a talented athlete,
yes,
a big heart, and I reckon some sting that could be added to the Broncos pack.
I just love the fact that he's red hair. Just inject a red into your team. Like some of the great Reds have been through the Broncos. Brad Myers, remember Big Brad?
Oh, Big Red.
Big Red.
Yeah, exactly. Test player as well. A man of the match in his first Test match in New Zealand. 13 13 55 0467 736 736. I know you want to get this off your chest, but I'm going to have to get you just to hit the pause button, because Vanessa's standing by with the news. Texts are coming in as well. We'll get into those. But you were watching, or you were calling the Souths Newcastle game over the weekend, and you were a bit like Desi. You were bemused at some of the refereeing calls. We'll get into that next.
And it's just a view. There's not a lot of confidence at the moment, I think, with players, interpretation around what's a high shot, what isn't a high shot, what's deemed, what's coming back. So there's a lot of nervous individuals on both sides at the moment. You can kind of see it, both with the officialdom, who's running the officials. The officials seem to be, they're down on confidence a little bit there at the moment. And it's probably something that we have to addressed pretty quickly going into finals.
Yeah, Desi Hasler after the Titans lost to the Roosters, 18 penalties, Cozza, and we're waiting on those charges to come out. 6 on report from that game. Does Desi have a point?
Oh, absolutely got a point. And he said it in a true Desi fashion. He sort of ummed and ahed and bummed around a little bit, but he's well and truly on the money. I mean, in their game, there was 6 on report, and as you just touched on, there's going to be some potentially big news come out of that with Waru Hargreaves that is looking at potentially a couple of weeks out, only just returned from 4 weeks out. His rap sheet's not great, so that'll come into account. 18 penalties. In the Canberra-Penrith game, there was 11 penalties after 15 minutes. 11 penalties, 15 minutes. It seems as though the NRL referees are lacking confidence, are a little dubious around making calls. It's a real concern because the biggest games of our season are coming up. This weekend, it's going to determine whether a team plays finals or not. The following, and then obviously the semi-finals. That's not to take into account what's transpired over the weekend in regards to what's 10 in the bin, what's not 10 in the bin. Are we going to go there, Ben?
Well, you were calling that South's Newcastle game. Cam Murray and Tyson Frizzell.
Well, go a game earlier. Go over to the Bulldogs took on
Warriors.
the Warriors.
Yeah.
And Paul Gallen made some comments yesterday in and around the flavour of the month, and that is the Bulldogs and also Stephen Crichton. I love everything about what we've seen from Stephen Crichton. I've spoken openly about that. I've also loved what I've seen from the Bulldogs and their style of play. Stephen Crichton come up with a hit who should have been, absolutely, without doubt, 10 in the bin. But we're hearing words of low to moderate force, mitigating factors. Once upon a time, when I say once upon a time, wasn't that long ago, like round 1, 2, 3, mitigating factors, low to moderate force were nothing. These were words we didn't, it was black or white. If you had contact to the head, it was 10 in the bin. And we sort of took that on the chin and we moved forward. Now there's low to moderate force, mitigating factors, all these words that are coming in that are playing part of whether a player should or shouldn't be in the bin. Stephen Crichton has been cited. He's been charged. He's looking at 2 weeks if he's to fight it. He'll take the one, you would think, and be back after that. Nothing done at the time. Should have been 10 in the bin. Max King also got Barnett, split him open.
Yeah.
Nothing. 0. Then you go, I was calling the Rabbitohs were taking on the Knights. Cam Murray come across. He was 3rd man, 4th man into the tackle, caught him with his upper bicep into the face. Now, at the time when I was calling, we heard the wording come through from the referee. It was low to moderate force with mitigating. And there was like nothing. And then 10 seconds later, like someone has just run into the NRL bunker and said, no, stop, he has to be 10 in the bin. Then 10 seconds later, they blow it up, he gets 10 in the bin, which it should have been in the first place, given the fact of what we had seen. A little later in that game, young guy on debut, Sewer, got 10 in the bin, and that was fair enough. In the same game, Kalen Ponga put a kick up, was contacted in the air, which forever and a day has been a penalty and potentially 10 in the bin. Well, nothing was done. Nothing was done. It was blatantly obvious for everyone to see. Moments later, plays had taken place. Then they come back, put the player on report, no penalty given to the Newcastle Knights, yet player being put on report.
No one likes it.
There is just so much inconsistency and grey area going on at the NRL at the moment. When was the last time, Ben, you saw or heard of the disruptor?
Oh, I thought we got rid of the
What
disruptor.
a load of wallop. There was a disruptor penalty given in the same game. Now, under the letter of the law, when they created this word, disruptor, it stood. But we have not seen the disruptor in, I can't remember when was the last time we saw it, yet it popped its head up
Probably
again.
Not since Origin.
It popped its head up again on the weekend. So it's back in vogue, you would say. I don't think you'll see another disruptor moving forward for the remaining of the year, but it popped its head up, yet it hasn't been around. I cannot come to grips with what the NRL are doing at the moment. The referees are being told how to adjudicate. There's edicts going on. And quite simply, they can't control or understand or have a grasp on what's going on. We've got our biggest games coming up. Our biggest games. You do not want to be talking about the ramifications or the results based on decisions that referees can or cannot make.
It used to be simple. The clubs would get a letter at the beginning of the week and saying, hey, look, we've seen this creep into the game. We're going to crack down on it this week. So here's your warning. It's basically the preemptive strike. Don't do this, otherwise you'll get they're now, coaches are left scratching their heads. Graham Annesley's going to come out in his Monday briefing and either say, yes, we got it wrong, or no, this is they got it right. And then you have a look at the ruling in that Melbourne game. I know it didn't affect the decision, but say Fulongo's try on the dead ball line, like that was clearly on the dead ball line, and yet it was given a try. So it was like
this is my
maybe
point.
The person had run out of the bunker in the Knights Souths game.
It seemed that way. It seemed exactly like
Missed that one.
Someone has run into the bunker and said, you have to send him off for 10 based on what we'd seen the day before. It's actually, in calling the game, I didn't want to come into it. I just didn't want to comment on the NRL referees. And then the disruptor come about and I was like, oh, no, here we go.
And if it was a one-off game, you'd go, okay. But Desi, 18 penalties. What was it? Canberra Raiders, 11 penalties in the first
15 minutes.
So something's gone on at refereeing HQ,
Correct.
NRL HQ. So Graham Annesley will have to explain today, because the ones left, really, not you, not I, players, clubs, fans.
Yes.
They're the ones that are scratching your heads, and I'm sure you are too this morning. 1355 0467 736 736. 100% Corey, the NRL are changing the rules mid-seasons, not telling anyone. 2 disruptors on the weekend. Let go. Thank you for that one. Keep them coming through. The KFC $100 voucher up for grabs today. By midday today, we'll give it away. So, the lunch pack. Imagine how many lunch packs you get. So $9.95, right? You get the double tender burger, and you get chips, and you get a drink, and your favourite, potato and gravy.
Yes.
And you dip away.
Little scoop.
All for under
dip away.
$10. So you can get 10 of those with that $100 KFC voucher. Paul's out at Wyndham. He said, hey, boys, Michael O'Connor was pretty good kicking too. What about the one in the wet?
Well,
State
Michael
of Origin?
O'Connor was good because he was kicking off sand or a little bit of mud, whatever you could conjure up, because the kicking tee came in later, obviously.
Yeah.
But O'Connor had a bit of both.
Okay.
He was straight up and down.
Quick intel on this before we go to a break. Kicking tee, high or low, the round one or the one that's up like a golf
I
ball?
was a low round one.
Yeah, why is that?
It just suited my style of kicking.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Some other people are up high.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
And you trialled it all?
Yeah, trialled it all. Yeah. But for my flow and my kicking style was the round, fat, short one.
Oh, you... was
Stay on task.
Yeah. From memory, you didn't bend it as such.
No,
Like
I was
it
a straight kicker.
Yeah.
I was a straight kicker.
Yeah.
There's kickers that bend and other kickers that are straight. So to give you Adam Reynolds, straight kicker.
Yeah.
JT.
Yeah, the helicopter.
Yeah, very much a bend. So
how hard or difficult is that to do, or is that just your own style?
it's your own style.
Yeah.
So when you go through the techniques of kicking, you wouldn't be showing Jonathan Thurston in terms of technique, because some people are just technically wrong but get it right, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Other people technically very good. Everything moves in a pendulum style and it goes through the process nicely. JT very different, bit like a golf swing with a whippy shaft.
Yeah, exactly right. 1355 0467 736 736. The Alltel open line. You can build greater customer experiences with Alltel Contact Centre Outsourcing. Jump on with them today. Jump on with us today. A $100 voucher coming your way from KFC to the best text or call of the day. Goal kicking is top of mind, and not only in the NRL but the AFL as well. The Brisbane Lions, they have had an absolute shocker over the weekend. They still snuck home against Essendon, but they've got a week and a half to fix it. How can they fix it? Well, Corey, after 10 o'clock today, I'll be speaking to a goal-kicking guru. I know I've got one sitting in front of me, but a guy who's made his profession at is an NFL
How do you
and
make
AFL
your
background.
profession being a goal kicking guru?
Well, I'll find out, won't we, when we chat to him. At 9:43 this Monday morning,